Here's a news story that the mainstream media has been missing. MSNBC recently reported about a massive bank fraud, money laundering, racketeering by banksters, and people within the U.S. government assisting them, to a total of $43 trillion. An astronomical amount of money, incomparable with, I can't think of anything in world history. Now, this apparently indicts people at the very highest levels of the U.S. government. Not Barack Obama, but people very, very high up. Now, there was an article available on this on the MSNBC website for a few hours, but then it just mysteriously disappeared. Now, right before that it was taken down, like a few hours before it was taken down, CNBC senior VP Kevin Krim was notified that his children were murdered. It seems that the murder happened first, and then very shortly after, the article on the fraud was removed. Now, according to mainstream accounts, it was the nanny who had actually killed the children and then had killed herself, committing suicide almost like directly after having committed the homicides. It does say this in mainstream reports, in the mainstream media, about what actually happened. You know, police have very little info, but they're not saying that this looks like it appears to be part of something bigger. I'm not saying that they're refusing to give information or that they have it and they're not describing it. I'm just saying the police aren't saying that this is part of something bigger. They're just saying that the children were murdered, and seemingly it was the nanny who did it and then committed suicide right after. This is, of course, very, very suspicious. The murders are real. The court case is real. There are links in the description to both, showing that these things both did happen. They did happen one after another, which is extremely suspicious given the nature of what it is that the VP actually did. Now, here's a little bit more information about what was going on with banksters, according to the Wall Street Journal. In the district court lawsuit, Spire Law Group LLP, on behalf of homeowners across the country and New York taxpayers, as well as under other taxpayer recompense laws, has expanded its mass tort action into federal court in Brooklyn, New York, seeking to halt all foreclosures nationwide, pending the return of $43 trillion by the banksters and their co-conspirators, seeking an audit of the Fed and audits of all the bailout programs by an independent receiver such as Neil Barofsky, former Inspector General of the TARP program, who has stated that none of the TARP money and other bailout money advanced from the Treasury has ever been repaid. Despite protestations to the contrary by the defendants, as well as similar protestations by the President Obama and the Obama administration, both publicly on national television and more privately to the United States Congress. Because the Obama administration has failed to pursue any of the banksters criminally, and indeed is actively borrowing monies for Mr. Obama's campaign from the same banksters to finance its political aspirations, the national group of plaintiff homeowners has been forced to now expand its lawsuit to include racketeering, money laundering, and intentional violations of the Iranian Nation Sanctions and Embargo Act by the national banks, included among the bankster defendants. These are some very strong words and some very serious allegations against members of the government and the financial elite community. Now, this is a list of some of the people who are alleged to be co-conspirators. Attorney General Eric Holder, Assistant Attorney General Tony West, the brother-in-law of defendant California Attorney General Kamala Harris, Timothy Geithner, Anita Dunn, a former communications director for the Obama administration. Now, interestingly, any reporting of this incident has just disappeared. You would think that in the media, at least even in media circles, the murder of the children of a VP of such a major media company such as CNBC would be all over the place. I mean, even among their own circles, this would be very, very important news. And particularly among the ruling elite and even the financial elite, considering that this position holds so much power in the media and the information system that we're exposed to. You would think that this would be all over the place. Hell, even this lawsuit alone, with $43 trillion on the line, it's still nowhere to be heard of. And yet this is a real lawsuit. The papers are available to be seen publicly. That makes this whole thing very suspicious. Now, assassination and brute intimidation are nothing new for the ruling class. They use this all the time. They murder people on a daily basis to protect their own interests, and they beat people and assault them on a daily basis. Just look at Occupy Wall Street and how much violence that even they, in their very, very limited liberal way, have attempted to do anything, are beaten. And this seems like a very, very serious accusation. It seems like it's probably very true. But it's a little bit twisted towards being against Obama because of the TARP and the bailout, because it's implying that it's only Obama that would have done that. Had a conservative won in his place, the exact same thing would have happened. In fact, probably would have happened to an even greater degree. But that's not really the point of this. I think the point of this is to let people know that this story is actually going on and that these children seemingly have been murdered for this reason. I'm not accusing anybody of having done anything. I am merely presenting an opinion of what has happened and the way it may appear to some people because of the circumstances and the evidence that is presently available. It does look like, to me, in my opinion, that these children may have been murdered by plot to make this guy, Kevin Krim, pay for having put that information out there.